All right, all right, all right, or all right, all right, all right. Uh, all right, I'm pretty psyched for today. Just gonna let y'all fill into here real quick. Let me get out of this. And nope, that's not what I want to do. And I want to. There we go. All right. Each week I try to find some things I did wrong and do them a little bit better. And that's what I'm doing here right now. Let me do this. And so we're going to talk about the best music marketing ideas. Or maybe not the best, but some really good music marketing ideas. I want to give a nice overview of kind of like, why do people do these grandiose big music marketing things? I think so many times people like see like a online contest or some scavenger hunt or something like that, and people are like, why bother like doing that? So I want to talk about why you do music marketing ideas. So one of the things I've talked about a lot of the time, you know, if we're going to do a big campaign and it's a big artist, if it's an artist that already did well once before, if it's an artist that, let's say, you know, has proven that people like them if they hear them, one of the things we're going to try to do is we're going to try to make them have a much bigger splash. We're going to try to make them get people talking about them in a bigger way, increase the conversation around them, because it's proven that, you know, whoever's investing in them probably will make money by doing that. So whether that's a record label themselves or whoever else, really the fact of the matter is a lot of the time, as you're solidifying yourself, you can do cool music marketing ideas that get people talking. So I want to discuss what those can look like today. Now, some of them I think are more interesting than others, but I don't always think interesting is what matters. Sometimes effective is what matters. So what really matters is, and if you think of this way, it's like much like I tell you guys about many of these things, which is that what matters most is not necessarily, how do I put this? It being the coolest thing. It's more like what is going to get people to talk about you and tell friends about you, or get potential fans likely to see you, so that way you're getting exposed to more people. You're seeing more people are seeing and hearing about you. And you know, like one of the things I've talked about in some previous videos is lore. The idea that you're going to create some things so that when people are at concerts, they're talking around about you and they're like, oh my God, did you see this person that does this? Because what creates propensity towards someone being likely to listen to you more than someone you trust saying, hey, this person did this really cool thing. You should hear about it. You want to understand what the cool thing is. So let's talk some cool things. So, one of the things I like to use as an example of a really cool thing, I actually made a whole video about it. Look at that guy right there. Is Arcade Fire years ago used this technology. It's so funny. Like, it's a little obsolete now because no one really buys the iTunes store, but you could technically do this on like a Bandcamp or from your own website or something. They used podcasting technology, which we have to remember, you know, I'm in podcasting and I'll tell you straight up. The podcast stuff you saw, when you download a podcast to like iTunes, it's just downloading a WAV or an MP3. So when you're downloading that, there's all these things. And what's funny is in podcasts, you could actually do chapters, much like a YouTube video. And there's metadata for that. So I know a lot of you haven't seen this because under 1,000 people have watched it, but let me find where the demo starts. But I'll show you this cool thing that the Arcade Fire did, or Arcade Fire.
People remember the coolest thing they did during this album cycle. Let's roll the video. As you can see here,
somebody confirm with me in the chat that you can hear this when I'm playing this too, so I don't make an idiot of myself.
If you downloaded their record, you get an MP3 download of the record, and then the experience would be in the album art. They basically made a frame by...
So as you can see there, what they basically did is they created basically lyric videos you could watch in iTunes, but no one had ever seen that before, so it caused a huge talk. I mean, they won Album of the Year with that Grammy. That's what they were looking to do. That was a lot of what their objective was to get people talking, elevate them to a bigger height. I mean, this was they had a buzz before this, but this is the record where they really solidified themselves. So, a lot of what music marketing could do is, wow, look at this cool thing. You should do this. You should check out this experience. Fans of the experience. The other crazy thing they did in here was if you clicked links, it would take you to all these things that explain the lyrics. Now, if you're an artist who does really deep lyrics, I mean, you could do that with a handful of formats and keep people talking and keep people wanting to go deeper and going even more down the rabbit hole of building a relationship with your music. That's one of the other things that we can really do with this. But yeah, like if you think of it this way too, it gives people a reason to listen to the record more. So like, one of the big objectives, I think a lot of time with music marketing is let's get people to listen to this record and have a deeper understanding of it. Then they're going to think about it more. Then they're going to build a deeper relationship with it. It's why a lot of artists do a lot of interviews where they sprinkle little things in there. Then they reshare those little things on social media. It's why storytelling is so effective around your records. It's why album commentary tracks are so effective, which is open to any of you also with Spotify Music Plus Talk. Any of you can make an episode where you explain your record and your songs better with doing that. And it's like super easy to use and free. I mean, at this point, I feel like I'm a paid, or really I'm an unpaid endorser of Spotify Music Plus Talk, AKA Anchor. So all this is to say is like a big goal of a lot of the time of like when you're doing the big music marketing ideas is let's get fans to have a deeper relationship so they listen more, they connect with your music more, and then we know the more they listen, the more they're likely to buy merch from you, come out to shows and support you, tell friends about you and everything. So a lot of time we're creating that. Okay, with that said, let's move over here. So this is a guy named Lee Martin. I've asked him like 3 times to come on and do a podcast with me because this guy is basically like when big artists want to build something cool for music marketing on the web, this is the guy they go to. He's done, and as you just see here, Jack White, Foo Fighters, and he's done other people who aren't as washed. He has tons of relevant groups that are doing cool things today. And I'm going to go over, I'm going to basically, and really the rest of this will be me showing you a lot of cool things he's done. In fact, the first thing I'll even show you is one of the first things, and if you've watched my guide to Instagram, I showed you this cool thing he made, which is called Turn. I think it's turn.audio, if I remember right, is the, yep, I'm right. What this does, here, you know what, I'm just gonna hit play and show you. So basically what you can make, so your song will basically play in a video that you can now post on Instagram. You can post it wherever. And it's another piece of content you could do to make people listen to your music with a graphic. So I particularly think that that's a like kind of cool small piece of good marketing, but not as big as we're going to talk about here. But like, just to show you, this guy this is like his hobby. Like, he could make stuff like this in his sleep. So I think that that's a pretty cool thing. But let's get into like some deeper music marketing stuff. So this thing I thought was really cool he did. One of the best ideas people have for music marketing is to just get people to talk on social more about it, because then their followers are going to see it. So Papa Roach, of course, had that song, you know, the Cut My Life Into Pieces. You know, it's real punching sheetrock anthem for angry white guys. And so like what he did is he made this thing called the Life Cutter, where if you tweeted using a couple of these hashtags or you replied to Papa Roach in a message, it would put you in this app, and you could see from this live stream that you would be in it. Think we get the point there. So yeah, like, but you know, for fans who are excited about being a part of you, doing music marketing where they can feel a part of you, like whether that's your picture, some people put the pictures of the fan in the video, you know, Charlie XCX did that on How I'm Feeling Now. If you can do that in exchange for tweeting out how much they enjoy you, saying how much you love a song, you can drive up a lot of people being aware of your music, drive up some streams, and like do a lot of good, even if you have a small following. So another one that he did that I thought was really cool is for this for this group called Water Parks. Water Parks is kind of like pop punk, heavy on the pop. I actually really love their first record a lot. They're a really smart, interesting band who did. I could literally probably do a whole video on some of the more interesting things this group does, marketing wise. But basically, to unveil their song, he made this thing where, like, if you tweeted, it wouldn't come out, I believe, until it hit a certain point. Let's watch this. Yeah, it's like a temperature gauge. Yeah, so like basically it had to get to the top, and then the song got released. Straight Veg, I see your comment about the Ghost Inside making their album art out of fan tattoos. Genius stuff. And you know, one of the things, and I've talked about this a little, I think it's in my book, but man, like, you know, it's like a really funny thing. People don't take advantage enough of when fans are getting tattoos, about how much that means as a selling point and showing that off to people, because like the music business, like that's real passion. I mean, you know, you gotta really be passionate about an artist to have a tattoo of them. I mean, I have, this is a tattoo of the first two Sophie songs I ever heard, because that changed my life. But you know, when people are willing to go that far to make it permanent or semi-permanent, I mean, I live around the corner from my tattoo removal shop. You know, it really shows a lot of enthusiasm. And one of the things when I was managing Man Overboard, when we were like, you know, being courted by all these record labels, like one of the things I would show them all the time, I'm like, man, like, you know, 30 fans already have tattoos of these band song lyrics, and people are like, oh my God, like, you know, it really shows enthusiasm. So if that's happening, sharing that and like putting that on your social media whenever fans are getting that, so that the people who are watching you see all the enthusiasm towards you, that's a huge thing. I think a lot of people who have that enthusiasm forget. Yeah, there's some thoughts on tattoos. Okay, back to water parks though. So this is like, remember when it used to be on Facebook? It'd be like, when we get 100 comments, 100 retweets, and I'll do this, 100 likes, I'll do this, or whatever it would be. You know, this is just monetizing that at a big scale with a band with a lot of enthusiasm. But like, so I should also say this Lee Martin guy, part of what's so cool is if you're like even mildly good at web stuff, he basically gives away the game on how he makes every single product. And like literally in all these posts on his Medium blog, he like tells you the code to how to do it. It's like he totally gives away the game for free. I mean, obviously you gotta have some knowledge and you can't be me and be a Luddite at this stuff and do it, but like you really, really, really like can do some really, really cool stuff. If you just like learn a little of this and go and look at what they do. I thought this one was really cool. Pop Smoke RIP, you know, they did a cool thing when they premiered one of his songs, where you would do a scratch card. You could get prizes if you got selected. So like, what's cool about that is like, one, it gets people talking. People are like, yo, you got to try to do this. But the other thing to remember, and I've talked a lot about this, is that giving away merch, doing cool little freebies inside your merch when somebody orders it, like a good example, Man Overboard. So I read this book called, no, I'm not going to remember. Hold on. Tony Hsieh book. I want to say it's called Random Acts of Wow, maybe. Delivering Happiness. Okay, but he had this concept called Random Acts of Wow. So this guy was the CEO of Zappos. And so the point being, what he would do is like, they'd be like, okay, shipping's in 5 days, but then they'd upgrade you to 2-day shipping. And then you'd be like, wow. And then you'd be like, wow, you know, Zappos was so great when you're out with your friends that they upgraded my shipping. What you can be doing for Random Acts of Wow is free sticker, free postcard, all sorts of things. Writing a personalized note when people order from you. All those things go super far in like getting people to share and write things. With Man Overboard, we used to, so they fulfilled their merch through this like little shack they had. And they would go in there and write little jokes about the fans' names. And then all the fans would tumble it and Instagram it all the time, and it'd get us tons more merch sales. Like we would literally just watch them increase because all the people wanted that. Doing Random Acts of Wow. So let's say you did something like this, you gave away some prizes. You could totally rev up your marketing, get tons of shares by just little things that require so little effort. And also, yet again, build bonds with fans that really get them going and feeling more allegiant to you and like they want to build a relationship with you. I talked about like one of the things you could even do. Let's say you have 20 cassettes. You could mail it to your friend and then give away 20 of them. And like probably if you reshare those on your story, probably 16 of those people are going to put it up on their story, and then their friends are all going to see about you. Hopefully, if they post the song, you could do a contest that they have to post your song for first. It's real simple. You don't even need to learn the code. Let's say you just go, the next 10 people who post our song, or the first 10 people who post our new single in their Instagram story, I'm going to send them a free cassette. Then you send them the cassette. You're probably going to get shared twice. They're going to post your song. Friends are going to hear it. Hopefully, you're going to get more people to hear it and then listen to it. Real simple stuff like that. Okay, what else did I have here? This is an interesting one. So Spotify's open API, which means for you, those of you who have ever had sex, since you probably don't understand that sentence, that means you're able to access Spotify data, and you can actually get access to your most rabid fans, some of their data. You can't always, you have to have them opt in, but basically what you can then do is have them sign into Spotify, and it'll detect your devotion, and then you can send your top fans on Spotify gifts. You can make like little things. Basically, you could do all sorts of things to incentivize. So things only, so that way only people who are like your greatest fans are going to really get access to something you want to give away. Now that's not super easy, but you know, all in here, dude explains how to do it, which is really fucking cool of him, if I'm being honest. Okay. The next thing I'm going to discuss, listening parties. Listening parties are like one of those no-brainer things. I talk about all the time that if I were y'all, I would always be setting a premiere on your YouTube, whenever you make a music video. Hell, if you're making a lyric video, set it as a premiere, let it sit in your fans' subscribes for a day, promote that you're going to do it, and then sit in the chat with them. You can even do the thing that after the video ends, you could put some extra behind the scenes footage, all that stuff, and then just trim it out after the premiere. There's all these trailers. There's all sorts of ways to do things these days when you're doing live streams on YouTube. You probably may even seen that I have like a little trailer that explains what this is for the live stream each week. YouTube's enabling tons of cool stuff. So you could be like, we're only going to show this once. You can chat with fans in the audience, but like, Lee has made some really, really cool things. He has this whole app called Listening Party that I've been meaning for forever to do to use this app to do listening parties with our fans where we listen to the podcast I do live and then explain things to them. But, you know, he's done some really cool things with this. Like he built this live stream for Girl in Red. If you don't know Girl in Red, Girl in Red is like a buzzy band for younger crowd, or really buzzy artist. But, you know, he basically made it so that like wherever you join in, it will actually join at the live point so that everybody's in the same place. Then, you know, you have a chat and everybody's having the same function at the same time, no matter when you join. But like truly the listening parties, there's so many ways to do it, but there's so many things that are like minor logistics that you could do are really, really cool. But yeah, like basically you can also write him and you can potentially use this software he made to throw listening parties for yourself. All right, I think we got through all the things I was going to talk about, which, yeah, looks about right. I just ranted for 25 minutes straight. So I'm going to drink some water, and then I'm going to read your comments and see what you've been saying in the chat, what questions you have for this week. But so, yeah, if you have questions, you should throw them in the chat now. Okay, Lil Witchy wants to know, let's say you're a broke artist and due to whatever situation, your only source of income is your music and merch, but you haven't quite blown up yet, but are making sales here and there. Should you prioritize getting the merch as cheap as possible for the fans and making no money, or should you charge a bit extra to be able to keep funding your music? So this is a great question. And really the answer is all the above. When you're making a merch store, yes, it's possible to have too many options. You know, there's, if you want to have a quick watch The Paralysis of Choice. That's what it's called. Yeah, it's called something like that. it's basically about the concept option paralysis, where if there's too many choices, people break down and don't make a choice. Really, over 8 choices usually drives people crazy, but you can get a little away with that when it's like music versus merch or t-shirts versus hats. As long as you don't have too many choices in each category, you're going to be fine. But with that said, you basically need to offer people a super cheap tier. Then you need to offer a medium tier for somebody who makes more money or is more enthused about you. Then you have to offer a big tier. Here's a great example too. Like, I will tell you straight up, a thing I do all the time. As you guys see, I have a million different band t-shirts on all the time. I try to support every artist I love and buy stuff from them. But like, truly, especially also when artists are on tour, if an artist has some big banner flag or something like that, I know, because I've worked in merchandising with artists for years, that gives them a lot of money. And so like, what I do all the time is I buy that from them. I also hit name your own price on Bandcamp. I talked last week about how I tip people who have tip jars on Spotify if I really love their record. I try to support the artists. You can allow that for those people who don't have as much disposable income as me. You know, no kids, middle-aged guy with a career. I can throw a lot of money at my little kid artists. Not everybody has that, but they do want something in return. So making those high ticket merch items can really do a lot. Oh, that's interesting, Straight Veg. One of your good friends got the email invite to the upcoming Harry Styles listening party and I see, but she received it a day late, so now she's on the wait list. So the funny thing is too, is like, this is another one of those arguments for following all the artists you love on as many things as possible, because we're all so inundated with so many things. And it's a lesson to all of you who are marketing, is that so many people get inundated constantly with so much. And we have to remember, people miss things, even if you're important. Like the 1975 or Charlie XCX are some of the most important music in my life. But I often can't read till the next day the things, because I have 2 million jobs. And like, you know, basically all day, I mean, even during these live streams, all I get is Slack messages wondering why I haven't sent somebody something. So that's a good lesson right there. Alan Hayes Music, what is the first and most impactful marketing move to make? I mean, the first move is getting music out and making people aware of it, making sure that you have what I call traffic signs up, which are how people can find you. So many people overlook that their Spotify profile, their Koji link tree needs to tell somebody how to have an experience. That's all music marketing. But then after that, it's literally just asking yourself over and over again this one question: what can I do that will get other people to tell other people to listen to my music and about what I'm doing? It's asking yourself that. I talk all the time. I've mentioned this before. I use this book by Ryan Holiday called Growth Hacker Marketing. It has just tons of really good ideas. It's like 2.5 hours long audiobook. And if I have to come up with an idea, like great example, I actually, this podcast back here that I'm making for Rolling Stone now, I have to think of some marketing stuff for it. So what I'm going to probably do tonight, tomorrow night when I have time, is I'm going to hop on my bike. I'm going to take a long bike ride, and I'm going to listen to that, and then I'm going to stop, and I'm going to write down ideas as I get them, and I'm going to keep riding around until I'm done with the book, and that usually gives me a ton of great ideas. Josh Cabalas says, I've been an artist for 8 years. I've taken a lot of breaks and been inconsistent with a pretty small but super fan base from home. How do I revamp my career? Well, it sounds like you just answered some of that, which is, it's a lack of consistency. But here's the like, it's like the joke I made in one of those videos. What's great about music is no one looks at its birth date to decide if they like it or not. The birthday may add context, but much like in R. Kelly backstage area, no one's checking birth dates on songs before they decide if they like them. So like, if you have some great stuff in the past, well, you're set up for more future success if you just come back, be consistent, and really stick to it. I mean, all you do when you go out there and do that is you do right by your music and right by your dreams, which is one of the best things I think we can all do. Now, obviously, we don't all have the time. I wish I could do this YouTube channel more, but I got to pay the bills and things pay me better. So, you know, basically, what I would say is this. I give the answers on this YouTube channel. Watch the playlist called How to Get People to Notice Your Music. I literally feel like that short little playlist is the majority of the answers. If you study that hard, and you have a solid back catalog, you're set up for a lot of success if people will take to it. I see that Smiley Psycho 1 is asking, what was the book again? Here, I'll put it on the screen while we're talking. There we are. Yeah, I can't recommend this book enough. It's so short too. Like, I'm not kidding you. The audiobook is 2 hours and 40 minutes. I've probably listened to it 10 times, maybe even more in my life. I've had it for a lot of years. It's a really, really, really good book. Ryan also wrote this other book called Trust Me, I'm Lying. I like this one a lot too. I read this after I had cancer, and I actually read it right as I got diagnosed with cancer. It was really good mindset to be in as I was going through a rough time. But his other, yeah, there we go. This book is kind of like God tier publicity stunt book. It really tells you how to manipulate the press and people's perception of you. It's a really, really great book. Ryan's made some great stuff. I can't say I've been a fan of some of his recent views and thoughts on society lately, but I'm a fan. Let's see. Okay. I think I can keep going down the list now. Cuddy Higher Self says, any ideas for getting my first 100 SoundCloud listeners? SoundCloud's an interesting one because a lot of it is sometimes that you haven't found the right hashtags to participate in. A lot of people search hashtags, but really all this is finding community. I tell you guys this all the time. Watch the guide. You go to my channel page, you go to guides, and you click how to find community. That's the key all right there to having and to how you find your first fans. That is the method. And yes, you could get better at hashtags, but honestly, that community video teaches you which hashtags you should be using. If you're not doing that work, that's a lot of why you haven't found your first fans. Augie Kelleher says, how would you recommend making t-shirt merch? Making it yourself, finding a third party to make it? Yeah, so listen. One, you can get it printed, and then you can do that random acts of wow thing I was talking about before. Or two, the other method is like things like Printful and Printify. They'll print it for you, no money down. They'll fulfill it for you, and you still get paid pretty decently. Especially you have a Shopify store, whatever, it can integrate with Big Cartel, Limited Run, Bandcamp. All these things have integrations now. It's super easy if you don't want to put money down, but like truly, the second you have a logo or graphics for your music, you should start selling merch because you might as well monetize some way to get funding for all this that's alternate and let the people who are most enthused about you be enthused about you. Then we have Rain asked, does your advice apply to people with less than 1,000 followers? Yeah, I mean, what I talk about is starting from zero. This whole channel is about when you have, the distinction I always make is, what this channel is about is when you have 10,000 fans, that real mark is that you have to start, you start to get so many options thrown at you that you now have to make decisions about what's the best option to do. But the before 10,000 fans levels, what I like to say is when you have to create all your options, you have to ask for things and try to get people to notice you. Whereas the 10,000 fan and above mark is you've now got enough people that have noticed you that people are throwing options at you and you got to figure out what to do. Augie Kella here says, I was watching your video about collaborating. How would you recommend actually asking to collab? Just slide into the DMs. I actually made a video about how you do this. I think the short of it is legit compliment that shows you're really actually familiar with them and actually admire what they do, that you have some kinship with them. Maybe you tell them something you have in common with them. And then secondly, then you say, like, how could we work together? Like, ask the question, don't embarrass yourself. Like, you know, the worst thing all the time, you know what I get a million DMs of every day? Yo, man, I'm going to slide you $500 and you can manage me for a month. And it's like, yeah, that's not happening, chief. Don't presume you know what a person costs. Don't presume you know their terms. Ask what it would be to work together, see if you can grow a relationship, or even better, to be honest with you, I think one of the best ways to do this is that you just strike up a genuine conversation and see if that works first and see if you guys have a kinship. But you can also, you know, some people just need money. So Philip Marney says, my question, I feel sorry for not taking enough time to make TikTok videos. Okay, I don't know how to respond to that. Okay, so Straight Veg says, not sure if you remember my music, but I released a full length in 2017. I've been putting off an EP for 3 years now because of life stuff. What are some things I can do to ensure a strong return? Really, if you're going to do the strong return, it's about banking that content first. I mean, really, I can't tell you how much when I, like, this last weekend, I went out with a bunch of music business people. Like, you know, it was like very funny. I was at, even the last 2 weekends, I was at a lot of shows where I was particularly around, standing in the back with a lot of people who work at different labels, distributors, and things like that. And we're all talking about that having the content banked so that there's tons of that to talk about. And then also just ideas of how you're going to talk about your music, how you're going to, what you're going to say on Instagram in the captions, what your TikToks are going to be about, having that all lined up so it's flowing out of you. It really is so much of it. And even too, in certain genres, like, you know, a good example is like one of my really good friends is about to bring back his very popular metal band. So like we're mapping out every playthrough, every collaboration with a, what do you call it? A company that endorsed them, that they have a relationship with, like, let's say, you know, it's this guitar company brand, it's this amp, it's this cymbal, and they're doing so many partnerships so that there's so many things that can happen. Now, you probably can't do partnerships, but you know what you can do is, you know, like so many artists don't do enough plotting of just like do an unboxing of your mix with your mix engineer, do a production explanation, do playthroughs of every instrument, you know, all those things. Doing that content, it gets your music discovered, and it's very easy. Once you get over the mountain you see in your mind, and you realize it's a molehill to make this content, and it's pretty easy, it all starts getting way, way easier. Okay. Okay, Philip clarified their question. Should I feel sorry for not taking enough time to make TikTok videos? Here's my simple equation on TikTok. Figure out how much you can make on a consistent basis every week, and then just stay up with that number and do as much as you can that's consistent. I was trying to make 3 a week. I can't do it. I work doing too many different things. There's too many people who need me to do things. It's just not happening. So I'm making 1 to 3 a week. Gotti Beats wants to know, what would you do if you're a music producer releasing music and not an artist? Would there be any difference to the marketing approach? I mean, here's the problem with, as a producer. Producer is all about making relationships and having the right people hear you. It's really making people aware of you who would potentially be good collaborators. It's a lot of reaching out, knocking on doors, and realizing that 1 out of 25 people that you reach out to is probably all that's going to work with you. Even a really great artist. I mean, I always say I knew Benny Blanco when he was nothing. And like, that dude had to reach out to so many people. And finally, Spank Rock said yes to him. And he made that Bangers and Cash record with Spank Rock, which is, in my opinion, one of the greatest hip hop records of all time. I mean, I listened to it like 3 weeks ago. It's amazing. But like, it took somebody finally hearing like, oh, this person who reached out to me is actually really talented. And, you know, I think the past 10, 15 years have proved Benny's pretty talented. You know, it finally took someone saying yes for him to then get heard, because Spank Rock was underground as hell. I mean, he still is, but a lot of people don't know him, but everyone who knew him was cool and influential. So then he got in front of all those cool, influential people's eyes because they're watching it. And then they heard that, I mean, the production on that record is fucking sick. And that's how Benny Blanco became one of the biggest songwriters of the last 20 years. Okay, Holy Wire says, I've got a record and live shows in the works, but now I'm wondering where I should put the rest of my budget first. Logo design, merch, album art, music videos, PR company, what do you prioritize? I need to know your genre to answer that, so put that in the chat. I'll answer something else and come back to it. Okay, Mikey Mayo wants to know sync licensing advice. Okay, sync licensing is one of the last things in the music business that is fully gatekept. You need to find a gatekeeper who says, welcome into my gate. Now, a lot of that is relationships. You know, the biggest thing, the advantages to being on a record label, having a manager, booking agent, is they end up knowing sync people because somebody hears a song of theirs, of one of their artists, and then they're like, yo, we'd like to put that in the catalog. And then they have a relationship with that person. That's part of why having a team does so much good for you. But, you know, this is the problem, is like, it's exactly that. It's like, there's no way to just like ensure you get sync licensing. That's the thing. It's like, you know, we all talk about, like, you know, one of my favorite podcasts is this podcast called How Long Gone. And so whenever they have a musician on, they ask about the sync licensing thing. And like, yeah, like the other week, like John Vanderslice was talking about friends who get $1 million sync licensing. He's like, most I've ever gotten is near 100 or something. You hear $30,000. But the reason these are such, you know, unattainably high payouts and why you never hear of a way to get them is because they're gatekept as hell, because really the people who do them, there's not a lot of people in any genre of music who are doing them. And those people know they can pick the cream of the crop because that's what's going to make their life easier. All right. So Michael Brecka says, Steady Holiday did a giveaway of 3 of her laminated Spotify checks for those who pre-saved her album. All checks were ironically and understandably less than $1. Pretty witty marketing move, right? I mean, I think that one could have used a little bit more time in the incubator. You could have done tons of other things that were cool, but I mean, that's the right idea, yeah. Holy Wire says, FYI, for TikTok, you could schedule video posts on the browser version. Good for bulk content. That is 100% correct. It's a thing that I know a lot of people do because You know, if there's one thing I will say is, you know, there's two teams of people who say you can post at any time on TikTok, and then other team of people who say you need to post at the right time. I am on team you need to post at the right time, but the problem is everybody's time is different. You know, one of the artists I do consulting for who has like 2 million followers on TikTok, they post at 7 a.m. Whereas I find if I post at 10 p.m., that's usually the most successful videos. So everybody's different. Michael Gould asks, would you recommend saying yes to collaborating with a slightly bigger artist who you aren't really a fan of just for the promotional aspect? Yeah. let's be honest here. What I like to say is, you ever like been attracted to somebody and, you know, you're like, I'm kind of not attracted to them, but then there's this like good thing about them. Like, for example, you know, I'm a single guy. You know, sometimes when they live like 5 blocks away, that takes them from the, maybe I'm not that attracted to them to the, that's good enough for me. Yeah. I mean, listen, everybody's a case-by-case basis. Everybody's going to be a certain level of ethics on how much they have to be a fan of somebody. But in all honesty, I've been involved with some collaborations where I can tell you the two artists didn't particularly love each other, but boy, have they made some great music together that's done really well. You don't need to like the other person to do it. I mean, dude, I hate some of the most popular records I produced. I fucking hated the band members. I fucking despite the first top 40 hit I ever recorded. If I had murdered those people, I'd sleep well every night. They were such horrible people. They sucked. Straight up. I mean, I'd probably have a little conscience, but I'm exaggerating for the joke. Anyway, okay, Holy Wire said they're kind of Future Islands LCD sound system vibes. Let me go back to the question. I'm wondering where I should put the rest of my budget first after they've got a record and live shows in the works. Logo design, merch, album art, music videos, PR company. What do you prioritize? Okay, PR company in this genre, that's debatable that that's going to do much of anything for you. It can, but like, you got to really do some vetting. My thing with PR companies, and like, you should watch the video I called the cheat codes, because this will answer it better. And I don't feel like I should spend this time going over all that since we have 12 minutes left. I would watch the cheat codes video. It discusses the PR for your style of band really well there. I stand by that advice. Album art, I've said this, unless album art's going to also be your merch, it's not the most effective merch spend. It's one of my most controversial TikToks. People drag me for it all day, but I believe it. Music videos. Yes, in this genre, music videos are really, really a very big deal. I would prioritize them and do lots of research on. This is why it's so important to know your community. Wherever you live, you should be watching other artists around you, even if they're not in your same genre, and finding that director who's hitting the ball out of the park for smaller artists, and then that's who you want to hire. And then it's about coming up with the best idea possible. Okay. Soundeth says, do you think age plays a role in success? Do you think there's any potential for a band in their 40s, 50s to find enough success to go full time? Band net around 300K is what it would take. So here's the fact of the matter. It's much harder to get people excited about an older band. And some of that also, though, is just that older bands, yet again, it's about community, and they don't have time to do it. They don't bother to do it. But like, here's a good example. I always think of the band Beach Slang, who had a massive buzz. But how did that happen? Well, people heard the music first. You know, it was the beginning of playlist culture. A lot of blogs were writing about them. They were on the coolest of the emo labels at the time, Tiny Engines. But you got to remember, this is how old the singer of Beach Slang was. I was his publicist when I was 17 years old. And then that happened when he was like 38 years old, he hit. But what's crazy now, and I do see this everywhere, like I see it about once every 6 months, is you'll see an artist, even I just saw it in dance music, which was so funny. There's like a 55-year-old dude who's like killing it on playlists and dance right now. And you know, he's done a good job now of making himself up to look a little bit younger. But the coolest thing about playlists and stuff like that is that people really do hear music first and don't always see image first. So like there's hope, but the biggest drawback about when you're old is you're tired, you don't go out and kill it, you're not mingling with a bunch of people you could easily bond with. I mean, when you're 20 years old, the dumbest conversations seem profound. You get stoned together, you're like, yeah, dude, oh yeah, I put the Wizard of Oz and Dark Side of the Moon on, it was sick, bro, it does go together. You know, the dumbest things all work, but when you're 40, 50, you know, you're not bonding with people the way you do. And a lot of this game is bonding with people. And you know, the fact of the matter is too, is, you know, I talk a lot about the pain point. The pain point is before things are going well, and then things start going well, the biggest thing is people can't get past the pain point because they're like, well, we need this much money to get it to go this way, and they can't get past that. So a lot of the time, that's why you don't see artists that are older do it well. But you know, it's like a very funny thing is what you do see all the time is some like older people make really interesting records and really challenging records. And like some people really get into them. So it not impossible, but unlikely. KRU Control Visual says, I'm a hip hop artist and I have profiles on all platforms. However, I've been more active on IG. I'm gaining followers who actually listen to my music. I gain at least 6 followers a day. Good idea to continue? You should continue doing this for as long as you're passionate about it. Whether people react to you or not is not the indication of success. The indication of success is if you're enjoying it. Like, I hate to say it, I know people don't do it, but like if you one are making music that feels emotionally powerful to you, and 2, you do right by learning strategy, which you can do by watching this channel, that's all you can ask for. You can't control how people react. I think I made some of my best videos recently. They have no plays because it's summertime and no one cares about promoting their music anymore. I am excited to see, though, that we right now have the most people we've ever had in one of these chats in the last 4 weeks. So I'm really psyched on that. Straight Veg says, my videos do well at 10 p.m. because you're all a bunch of goblins. Goblin mode checks out. Scud TV says, any tips for keeping fans engaged between releases? You know, this is the biggest problem, is people's addiction. You got to remember, music is a mood altering drug. So you're not feeding the key of the addiction unless you're giving them that. It's one thing if you're a really hot person and part of the addiction is people being horned up for you, or if you're really funny and part of the addiction is laughing, that's a totally different story. But really the key to all of this is people are addicted to you for a reason. Like, you know, right now people are addicted to MGK and Megan Fox for the fucking cringe fest every week, as well as the music, but every week they're going to say some dumb shit because they've learned the fucking Kardashian method of just keep saying dumb shit and doing dumb shit, and people will keep talking about you. If they're feeding the addiction to them, and you have to figure out what people get addicted to you for and what people enjoy about you and feed that. There's no way around, none, that unless you're feeding the addiction that people have to you, not the people when you want them to, that it's not going to go well. Natasha Pearl asks, I've only created 2 songs so far. They are both pop, but one is more electro pop and the other more is all pop. How do I go about finding my community micro genre without a defined sound? Okay, here's the thing I say all the time. Every single one of you thinks the breadth between your material is too vast to find a community, when if anything, those 2 things go pretty well together. So your community can be both of them, and that gives you more options to market between. But like, honestly, here's a mantra for all of you who make diverse music. It is, I don't make as diverse music as my brain thinks I do. I've never, I've probably done 300 to 500 consultations at this point with different artists who've told me that their music is super diverse. And yes, some of them, it is true. They're doing hip hop and then a metal song, but really most of the time, everyone's exaggerating about the breadth of their music and how big it is. Yes, and you say you have no analytics on what your listeners listening to since you haven't released anything. This is the hardest part about when you haven't put out anything, is you can't learn a lot of things from people yet. That's why it's important to start getting music out. People can be way too precious about just getting things out. Yes, I think you should set it up by having all the content in place first before you get it up, but you need to get it out to learn some lessons. And there's some things, there's some things you can't learn until you get it out and start learning and getting feedback from people. But hey, your music does not need to be out to put it on Submit Hub Hot or not and get feedback from people on what it sounds like. Dylan Lundgren asks, what are your biggest cringe icks that you see with artists? There's so many people who just being way too thirsty for attention from other people. It's funny is there's some people who do I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't want some attention. I want people to listen to what I'm saying about this stuff, but being a little too thirsty for it, really does come off bad. And I think a lot of times I see that. But it's also cringe is when someone's uncomfortable in their own skin. I'm also a cringe addict. If you guys know the account on Instagram, Fave TikToks 420, it's just cringe from TikTok. And honestly, I love it so much. I pay for the Patreon because inject it into me. Okay. Toast and Jam sessions, going with music videos. Once the music video is done, what are the best steps to drive views? Okay. In my guide to YouTube, I explain all these little details that actually help drive some views, whether it's the tags, the lyrics, on to just how you can get yourself associated with other artists. But really the biggest thing to drive videos that most artists skip is 1, lots of clipping and putting that in socials. 2, behind the scenes stuff. 3, making an initial big splash. Like I said, you do a premiere, you do a chat, you put some behind the scene stuff, which you can later cut into your social media at the end of the video, and then you clip that out once the video is premiered. Some other things to drive views too is also I talk about this all the time, that on release day, you should re-up your relationships with people. Text people and say, hey, we met a while ago. How have you been doing? What have you been up to? They're never really going to ask what you've been up to. And then you're like, well, we just put out this video. And that is going to be the time they are most likely to share it and say something because you re-upped your relationship with them. All right. I'm going to keep going, even though we have 2 minutes left, because there's some good questions. But this is what I'm going to say is I'm going to give this 2 more minutes. So if you have questions, I'm going to answer everyone that's here, but everything that's posted after 2 minutes from now, I am going to have to skip out on it. Okay, Miko says, how much do you charge for consultation? I'm taking meetings with labels, but feel like I could take my career to the next level just having a few meetings. Email the office. They don't allow me to deal with things because I am too nice to people and they need to be mean, so I actually get paid. So museformation@gmail.com is the office's email address. I like that straight veg. That had been the MGK Cringe Fest is what keeps Finn and you fed. You guys do capitalize on that very well. And if you're not watching Finn McKenty's streams and Punk Rock MBA, you're missing out. And I know straight veg is a big part of that. Okay, Backstage Fire says, seems getting videos made has gotten more and more expensive. Videos being typically at the top budgets now. How should DIY artists pay on average? Here's a funny thing. I 100% disagree with you. Videos have gotten way cheaper, way easier to make. Everything about it has gone down. What I suggest you do is you reassess who you're speaking to and look around at alternatives. One of the things I think that's really interesting that a lot of artists do is that they batch the videos. They'll shoot 3 performances, bring 3 costume setups, set up in one thing, change the lighting, maybe change some of the background a little, but basically use that for 3 different videos. No one fucking cares if the background's a little bit the same. But once you're set up and once you're there, it's all there. So you have the performance stuff for the next 3 videos. Then maybe there's narrative or other stuff in it, but you just change your costume, change the background, change the lighting scheme. There you are. There's so many ways this is all cut down. I mean, one of the things even too is like, the other week I was out with a friend getting a drink over here, and she's really particular about the shots she likes of when she's singing. So you know what she did? She cut them down for the music video director so it wouldn't be as expensive and said, here's the only ones you have to work with of me singing. These are the only times I think I look good. You know, she's like fucking insane. She's gorgeous. And she's like, I only look good if it's this side of my chin or some shit like that. You can do so many things to hack the process. You just got to get creative. And I will tell you this. I consistently see $2,000, $3,000 music videos that look like what was costing 30 to 50K just 5 years ago, all the time. Particularly with people in this community and people who post things in the Discord. We have a whole music video section in the Discord where people share stuff like that. It's rad, and I see amazing work all the time for cheap. The Andrew Beltran says, any suggestion for hardcore bands that do social media well, particularly on TikTok? Been posting more there, but don't see too much hardcore. Think Kublai Knocked Loose type music. I mean, what's interesting is Knocked Loose's label, Pure Noise, does incredible work there. I mean, it seems like so much of what works on TikTok in the hardcore metal thing is just playing up the cliche jokes of the genre. Like, you know, even whether it's like, you know, I think of the Knocked Loose thing. It's like they were fucking doing that one breakdown and then they'd put the fucking bing bong in there and then it's fucking viral as hell. A lot of this is in that genre is like thinking about what the silly tropes of the genre are and how you can comment on them. So much of, I think this too ends up being, what can you provide of insight into the genre that people don't already understand? Sound Death asks, what do you credit the success of your YouTube channel to? I don't feel successful, but most people don't feel successful. I feel underrated. I feel undervalued, and that's how most people feel. But any success I do have, it's that I show up regularly. I don't accept being as lame as my competition who shit out, literally just read somebody else's article and paraphrase it, or likes some little cucks do with certain accents, let's just say, read directly from my book and not fucking credit me. I credit when people all the time because I know I stand on the backs of giants, but you guys also see my authenticity because, and I think that's a lot of what people respond to, because I credit, I talk about what's my original ideas, and I work really hard to come up with good ideas. I don't phone it in. I mean, I can't say I don't phone it in ever. I mean, 2 weeks ago, I put in up some 1-minute videos. I had a fucking fire in my apartment. Like, I didn't have time to fucking do this. Like, I spent forever cleaning my living room out of all sorts of crap. Like, it sucked. Let's see. Raven Hunter says I skipped their question. I did not see that. Oh, I see why I skipped your question, because you asked what captions I should use for your ads. I don't believe in ads, so I don't discuss them. You should go on Andrew Southworth's channel. He's really, really smart about ads, and he will discuss that. I think ads are the worst thing you can do for your music, and they're total bullshit. Cuddy Higher Self says, should I post music on SoundCloud for free or DistroKid? Do I need to pay for beats ASAP? Yes, you should post on SoundCloud for free. DistroKid is the best distributor. Do you need to pay for beats ASAP? That's a concept that I like. I can't speak to. I'm sorry. Holy Wire says Wet Leg batch their videos. Wet Leg is a great artist to watch if we want to see somebody who just had a meteoric rise by doing really cool shit. Just watch that YouTube channel. They killed it. That's a great tip there. Sleepy Cap says, do managers ever approach artists before they get lots of engagement? If so, what are some attributes that would attract them to an artist? I have numerous videos on this subject. How to get a manager, how people get signed in 2020. They're all made within the last year and a couple months. Watch those videos. I get into that, and mostly I'm going to skip that because I say it better there than I could ever say it, and I don't remember everything I said. Scud TV says, what does a songwriter need at minimum before a publisher will want to sign them? This is a lot like my answer on syncs. Publishers are all different. They're gatekeepers. If you catch their eye with great songs and great productions, but you need the combination of those two, if you're in front of the right gatekeeper, they're going to let you through the gate, but you have to get yourself in front of the gatekeepers, which takes making connections, collaborating with people. The biggest thing with songwriters and producers is they need to collaborate with more people. You know, even on days you're not getting paid, get people in there that you think are talented to work with them and try to keep opening up your possibilities so that you get that. Thank you, Derek. William Brown, I'm sorry, I don't get that question, and we're about out of time. Rain, do you need to live in a city and mingle, or can you be remote? Rain, I actually made a whole video about that in December on whether you need to move. So you should watch that. Hell yeah, straight veg. Real musicians can't afford ads. That's right. I think that's it. Well, this has been my favorite one of these we've done. Next week, I'm going to try to think of a theme, or we'll discuss some music business stuff beforehand. But if you guys have any ideas for a theme for next week, hit my Discord and make a suggestion in the general chat. Thanks for watching, y'all. Y'all are the best.